Hi everyone, it's Jennifer from Fiberflux. In this video, I'm going to show you how to add leather handles to your handmade bags. I had this bag I made from a previous project and it just had a little yarn drawstring, and I was looking for a way to add a unique and interesting handle. I have here, this is actually some faux suede cord that I found at the craft store, and I've braided it and attached it to the bag. So if you're looking for a unique handle to add to your bags and to add a lot of texture, this is a great and super easy option. So let's get started. For this project, you'll need a pair of scissors, some masking tape. This is going to help you hold the leather pieces down while you braid them, keep them everything in place. You'll also need a hot glue gun. Now, as an alternative, you can use some fabric glue. That will work. It takes a little bit longer to dry, which is why I'm using the hot glue gun, because we're trying to tack something down that's pretty thick to something, so it's gonna stick on there really good and dry really fast. So I'm going to be using a hot glue gun. Now, as an alternative, you can also sew the handles onto the bag. Sometimes getting a needle through leather is very difficult. You definitely need to have a thimble on hand to save your fingers. And they do make heavier needles and heavier threads to sew heavy things like that, like upholstery or leather or what have you. If you want to do this on your machine, they also have a foot that's for heavier projects like this, and a special needle. So you don't want to use like a thinner needle for this. It won't work as well. So I'm going to be using hot glue. If you have a preferred method other than the hot glue gun, or you don't have a hot glue gun on hand, use any of the other methods that I've mentioned. For the leather, I'm going to be using some faux suede. Now, this is an alternative for the animal lovers out there, but at my craft store, I actually wanted to get a piece of this and cut it, but this is actually pretty convenient because it's already in cord. You can also find this on a spool, and it was pretty cheap. It's only a couple of dollars, and it comes in a couple of different colors, which is perfect for braiding the suede or leather or whatever you're using. I also would encourage you to recycle. So if you have an old belt, you could use an old belt. You could also, if you have an old garment that you're not wearing anymore, you could cut that up and recycle it. You could take a trip to the thrift store and see what they have, and repurpose something like that, or an old purse strap, something like that. So anyway, there's lots of different ways you can do this. I'm going to be using this faux suede cord, is what they're calling it, and braiding it that way. If you want a solid, thicker handle, that would work. And you can use the same ways to adhere it to your bag as well. And finally, you're going to need a bag. Now, I have a bag here that is in need of some handles. Some of you who follow the Fiberflux blog may recognize this bag. This was from the Blog Hop Crochet Along a couple months back. This was my hexagon project bag, and it used to have a little drawstring through it, and I made it to keep your yarn in when you have a little project going and you want to tote it along with you. But I really thought it would look stunning with some leather handles. So I'm going to be putting those on this bag. I took the little drawstring out, and I'm going to put some new handles on it. If you would like to learn how to make this bag, I have a blog post on each one of these hexagons are different. They were from a crochet along. So I can provide the link to that if you want to replicate this bag. And I also have a video that I recently put out, the straw flower hexagon tote, which is constructed the same exact way as this bag. So I'll provide the link to that video if you'd like to make this bag for yourself also. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this leather off of this card here. Now, depending on what you're using, you may have to do different prep work. Now, I have some smaller scissors. If you're doing a belt or a purse strap or something very thick, you'll want to use some heavier scissors. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to get this off of the card, And we're going to make 2 handles. We're going to make one of the handles together, and then we're going to put another one on there. So I'm just getting this off of the cord off of the card, and I'm going to be braiding this like I mentioned before. So I'm going to use 3 colors. I have a gray, like a dark brown, and a beige. So I'm just going to get these 3 strands like this. Now, this is very, very long, so I folded each color in half. So sometimes leather can leave some little crumbs behind, but that's okay. So anyway, I folded each one in half because I'm going to use each half for a handle. So at one end I have my loops. I'm just going to cut them. Okay, we're just going to cut, cut, and cut. So now we have 2 pieces of each color. Now if you're looking for similar length, this says 40 feet. I'm assuming that's the entire, all 4 colors put together. So take 3 of the strands, again, 1 of each color because we cut them in half, and we're just going to put them aside. So these other 3 strands that we have, and I have them a little bit tangled up here, what we're going to do is take our masking tape, and again, you can get all these little leather crumbs. We're going to take the masking tape and just rip off a piece. Now, take your 3 strands and just tape it. Tape it down like that, okay? Then, just get them all kind of lined up nicely. There we go. Okay, so we're going to tape that down. Now, we're going to braid. I'm going to make my handles, we can adjust the size of our handles later, and actually, you know what, let's give a little bit more. Maybe slide this up so you have, let me slide this back. See how you have like kind of a 6-inch or so tail. So leave a little tail at the top. Okay, then we're going to start braiding. So just take the 3 strands. If you've never braided before, you're just crisscrossing. So just try to get it. These strands are very long, but just try and get it nice and neat. See, I'm just braiding it just nice and neat. We're crisscrossing over, crisscrossing over. Okay? So these handles are going to be not too thick. I find with the leather, working with leather, the bigger and thicker and heavier it is, it's harder to cut and work with. If you have some really heavy scissors, great, but I just have my regular scissors, so I opted for this cord, and it's very pretty. I really like the colors, how the colors work together for the braid. If you notice, I'm going to bring this up close, it's kind of boxy. See how it's kind of, it's not like a cord, like a cylinder, it's like a cube. It has like rectangular dimensions. So as I'm braiding this, I'm trying to get my braid as flat as possible. Okay, so I'm going to continue braiding, and I wanted to mention too, while I'm working on this braid, I have my hot glue gun warming up. So before you start your braid, just plug in your hot glue gun and get it going. Okay, so I'm just going to keep braiding mine, and we'll rejoin in just a moment, and I'm going to show you how to put this handle on. Okay, so I continued with my handle, and as you're working, you can kind of hold it up to your bag to see if it's how you want it to look. And I think I'm liking this length. So I'm going to cut another, go down another 6 inches like this. Okay, and then we can put our bag aside for a moment. And let me just get some masking tape here, because we're going to tape this down also so it doesn't come apart while we're working. So just take a little piece, and then you can just tape it down at the other end, so that as we're attaching one side, the other side is in place, okay? So then what we can do is, this side here looks a little bit loose to me, so I'm gonna just kind of fix that. There we go, okay? So then we can tape that side down as well. So now we're ready to attach the handle onto our bag. Okay, so I have made the second handle. If you notice, I've already put the first handle on. And the reason I did this, I went ahead and did this, is because I wanted to show you how I'm going to match up the handles in order to get them the same length, okay? So this part can be a little bit tricky with the glue and everything. So we're going to work carefully and slowly and get this on. Okay, my hot glue gun is heated up and we're ready to go. So what we're going to do is, my hexagons make two little peaks. So I'm going to be attaching those to the backs of these because I don't want the mechanics of these handles to show. They're going to be hidden and show off this hexagon, okay? So I've already made my braid and I've taped down both sides. Just going to carefully lift this up. Now we want to be careful at this point not to let the braid come undone, okay? So what we're going to do is take our scissors and just cut straight across. Okay, just get it nice and flat, nice and neat. So then we're going to flip our hexagon down. See how we have that flip down? This is the inside of the bag. We're just going to put a blob on there. Now, this is the inside of the bag, but we still want to try and keep it nice and neat. Okay, so take your handle without letting go. Lay it down on that glue, okay? Now we might need to put an additional dot of glue. See how this one is kind of lifting up? So go ahead and do that if you need to. I'm just gonna put a tiny bit more glue on there. With hot glue, less is definitely more. A little bit goes a long way, especially when you're working with fabrics and things like that. Okay, it kind of soaks into the fabric, so we don't want it to go through. Okay, all these little strings we can remove later when everything's dried. Okay, so just make sure it's nice and secure onto this hexagon. Okay, and then we're going to flip that back. Don't let it rest against anything. Just kind of make sure it's straight and let that dry. And I don't know if you remember, but when we braided this, we kept our braid nice and flat, so just make sure it's still nice and flat looking. Okay, so let's do the other side. Now this is the point where you want to make sure, if you already have a handle, the first handle you do, you're just kind of eyeballing it and making it however long you want it to be. But the second one, you want to make sure it really matches. So I'm going to kind of hold those up. Now see, I made mine a little bit longer than I needed to. So that's no big deal. We're just going to just give yourself like a ½ inch and then just cut that, okay? So now we can flip our hexagon down like we did before. Go ahead and put your glue blob onto your bag. Again, less is more with the hot glue. And then just lay that right on there. You might need to hold it for a second. Let the glue kind of soak into all those fibers, but not too much so that we don't want it to come through those pretty stitches or whatever material you're attaching your bags to. Okay, so just hold that on there, get nice and neat. All those little strings, you can remove those later. I prefer to remove them when everything is dry, so we're not creating more strings as we go. Okay, so then you're going to allow your handles to cool and dry completely. Okay, so our glue has cooled and completely dried. Everything is nice and sturdy. Now these aren't super thick handles, but they're very strong because of the leather that we used, or the faux suede like I used. And our bag is nice and textured. We have the softness of the yarn from the hexagons, and then we have this kind of rustic handle. It gives a lot of texture. So that is how you add leather handles to a handmade bag, the super easy way. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the subscribe button to get all the latest Fiber Flux video updates. Thanks again.